It came as a surprise to some people when James Gunn's Superman, after he was talking with a lot of fans on threads about how much they like really long theatrical runs and not going to digital or streaming too early, came as a shock to some people when Superman came out on digital just 35 days after it debuted at the theater. And certainly, we are in a different world right now than we were before streaming. Things go to digital a lot sooner. They leave things at the theater and on digital at the same time. We do see this happen. However, when you make this move and when each company decides to make these moves can be pretty telling. So when the entire Gunn fan army is telling everybody, despite the fact that this movie's barely going to break over $600 million worldwide, that it's not going to beat Man of Steel from 12 years ago without even adjusted for inflation, and the fact that this movie with its massive budget, it will not break even at the box office. They've been telling everybody it's a massive smash hit. Nobody can tell you any different. Then it comes as a shock when it gets said, oh, by the way, after a month, it's going to digital. And of course, James Gunn has responded to that since then. He's responded in very typical James Gunn fashion, which is to make up some bullshit, because this is a big conversation. And people wanted to know why it was happening. And you only make a move like that if you're kind of desperate for some of that VOD money. You think it's played out of the box office. You're desperate for that video on demand money, whatever that may be, which they'll never tell us how much it is because they can hide that information from us. Well, James Gunn says, guys, it's all because of Peacemaker, obviously. Peacemaker Season 2, which according to James Gunn is the most important thing for people to watch because it sets up the rest of the DC universe in the R-rated, mature-rated Peacemaker 2 streaming show. That's how you set up the rest of your DC universe. James Gunn says Peacemaker Season 2 is the reason why they had to go to digital so early. Let's get into his quotes here. When Screen Rant's Liam Crowley told Gunn, it was heartbreaking to see Superman already going to digital because I love a good long theatrical campaign, Gunn agreed by saying #MeToo. The writer-director then explained the divisive decision. Well, it's very complicated, but the truth is it's because of Peacemaker. I originally thought Peacemaker was going to be coming out next month. There was a lot of things that are beyond our control, so that Peacemaker is coming out now, and at the end of the day, I wanted everyone to be able to see Superman that wanted to see it, even those people who couldn't get to a theater before Peacemaker. And that's really the reason for it. Look, we've seen James Gunn talk out of both sides of his mouth. He's just straight up lied at moments in time over the past couple of years, over and over and over again, whether it's about budgets, whether it's about actors, whether it's about directors, whatever. James Gunn tells a lot of untruths along the way. But when you look at this, what are you talking about? So I originally thought Peacemaker was going to be coming out next month. When is originally? Is this when you set the release date for your Superman movie? You thought that Peacemaker was coming out in another month? Is this after you release Superman and sometime in this 1 month they decided to shift the premiere? No, we've known that Peacemaker Season 2 has been premiering in late August for a long fucking time. So, like, there's a lot of things that don't add up here. So you do have control of when something goes to video on demand, but I don't have any control on when something goes on a streaming service. We know that there are different people in charge of different things at Warner Brothers. The streaming side is different from the DC studios and the Warner Brothers theatrical release studio. We get that part. So maybe you can't just snap your finger and say, I'm going to delay this streaming. For sure. But you do have control of when to release it early on video on demand. If you really want everybody to see it, why don't you just put it on streaming? And this is all coming after James Gunn had conversations with people about a month ago saying, oh yeah, Superman, it's not going to be on streaming for months and months after season 2 of Peacemaker comes out. Well, did you think that that's when it was releasing in September, what you originally thought? Because that would mean, unless Superman doesn't go to streaming until January or something, that's another like James Gunn lie, another James Gunn mistruth. And people can cope all they want to about this movie, and I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. Give it like a 4.5 out of 10. Okay, I thought it had a lot of problems. I thought it was a little stupid at times. I think there was a lot going on, and I wish it would have taken its time and breathe and like had some time to breathe a little bit, because I think they introduced some really cool concepts that they just glossed over and really missed out on opportunities in this Superman movie. But you can see the clips that are going out now that it's on digital, and some people getting exposed to it for the first time and saying, "This is the thing that y'all said was fucking awesome. Are you joking?" And truly, as much hype and as much cope and as much cover as the media has run for some of this stuff, we're going to end up with a Superman movie that probably makes $620 million overall, that has lost half the audience from these movies that came out 10 years ago and was not even able to really come close to Man of Steel from 12 years ago, despite the fact that tickets are over twice as expensive as they were back then. And with the massive budget that they have told us they have, the big marketing budget, the big production budget, not including the one that everybody else thinks the budget actually is, the report that came out where James Gunn says, no, there's no way that budget's real. The official Warner Brothers documents that were given for tax documents, no, those aren't real. Some intern must have sent that in. I have no idea what this is all about. This movie is not breaking even theatrically. Maybe that's one of the reasons they're in a rush to put it on video on demand. Maybe before Peacemaker season 2 comes out, they're like, we need to get some of these sales up. We need to convince people you need to watch this before Peacemaker. We do everything we can to wring as much money out of people, because honestly, it's not going to do what they had hoped it would do at the box office. Not as bad as something like Fantastic Four, but also the insane cope that is going on surrounding this movie about it being a success because of this, and this. When you just look at the numbers, you break down the numbers, you look at the budget, it is not. It is not what they had hoped it would be, despite whatever Warner Brothers or especially James Gunn might tell you.